What do you mean I have to change?
Oh, it's true, brother. It's true.
But I thought it was going to be... It was supposed to work out for me.
I know, it's the way you've always done it. And welcome to the Rebellion, the show taking the fight to self-entitlement.
Woo! You ready? I'm excited.
I couldn't be more ready.
Let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
It has been too long already. I've been itching to get back on here and talk to our people. Today, episode number cuatro.
That's 4.
I don't know what. Yeah, 4. I don't know what I'm gonna do after we get past like 6. I'm gonna have to switch to German or something because I.
Right, I hear Irish counting is easier on the English folk.
Oh, I wish I had a good Irish accent. That'd make me so much cooler. Anyway, episode 4, Innovate or Die. Yes, my friends, I said it. Innovate or die. So, Josh, when I say innovate or die, what does that bring to your mind? What are some of the images that come to your beautiful big brain?
Tombstones, ravens.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm focusing mostly on the death part.
Yeah, I see that.
Innovating,
Okay.
Good question, though.
Okay. I appreciate where you're coming from on that. You definitely have that artistic, creative aspect to you.
Mm.
But what I guess I was looking for was when I think innovation, a few names come to mind. Names like Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, in the early 1900s, Ford, the Model T. What does not come to my mind ever when I hear the word innovation is big bureaucratic governments.
Really? But you don't think the government has ever innovated new processes or procedures that have advanced society as a whole?
No. And let me explain why, because I can already hear the stomping of my progressive millennial brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's a bold statement, Caleb.
Have you not heard of Social Security or the minimum? People were poor before the minimum. Then why do you have to picket and protest for $15 an hour?
Oh, because
if the minimum wage fixed everything, well, it's because they didn't give us a raise for 20 years. Well, quit expecting your government to make you worthwhile. How about that? How about we just leave it there? Because I got a whole lot more stuff to talk about. But although the government may have tried to innovate, may have attempted to come up with an original idea, they have a broken system from the get. There is not a way for the government to innovate and effectively change your life. Here's why. As government expands, as government spending expands, and you are required to get more and more entitlements from the government to quote-unquote innovate, when things go wrong, they can't adjust. They're not flexible because everything has to be voted on. Everything has a regulation. Everything has a process or system that it has to go through to be vetted by corrupt senator, by corrupt representative, by even honest senators and representatives. The system itself is fat. It's flabby. Name one successful business model that operates like the government. You can't. You can't, because there is no way for that to economically work. Bottom line, businesses have to be able to move, adjust, pivot, change, evolve to what the marketplace wants and needs. That is the only way. Bottom line, only way for a business to be successful. The government can't do that. That's why the government can't give you what you want. Anyway, let's move on. Josh, I think we have a little bit of quote-unquote social proof that you want to get to.
Yeah, we have a few examples here tonight, Caleb, of, like you said, social proof of how the government's attempts to innovate have failed. So, first off, have you ever heard of a thing called the VA, the Veterans Affairs?
Me?
Yeah, you, a veteran. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, I think. Let me reach back into the back reaches of my cortex and. Yep. I think they were mentioned once or twice. They're supposed to be giving me free health care. But when I called them up after I got home and had served my country and gone to war and left my firstborn for the first year of her life, they told me the first chance that they would get to see me was 6 months later.
Oh, well, don't worry. The government has a fix for those long lead times. It's called the Veterans Choice Program. You heard of that?
Oh God, it sounds good, Josh.
Yeah.
That looks like some honey dripping off your lips. I might have to give you a kiss.
It's sugar, baby. It's sugar. So this is an article on NPR. You know, all of our liberal friends love NPR, so I'm gonna quote one from them tonight. The first sentence: "The fix is broken."
Oh, wait. I think we can just leave it there.
Yeah.
The fix is broken. That's it. That's the show, guys. Episode number 4. Thanks for having us. Don't forget to leave us an iTunes review.
Right. So the fix is broken. The Veterans Choice Program, it was a program, a $10 billion program. That's another part of the innovation we haven't figured out as the government is how to make things cheap.
Right. Hold on one second. Not to interrupt you because I do that too much. That was one way we're trying to innovate our show. But so isn't like the whole liberal movement like we hate rich people, right?
Right.
But we just wasted how many billions of dollars?
That would be 10.
Which is technically what most people would say more than the personal worth of Donald Trump, who happens to be the number one Republican candidate right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
On one broken program.
Just one.
Just wanted to put that out there. Go ahead. Sorry.
So basically, this program was designed to give veterans a choice to combat their long lead times by letting them choose a doctor outside of the VA program. So pause there for 1 second and think about that. We've innovated a program, a single-payer program, for our veterans so that they could have free health care.
Good idea.
Mm-hmm. And we already can't fulfill that need, so we'll give them an option to go outside of our program.
Trying to fix it.
And that doesn't work either.
Well, as a veteran, as a brother to another veteran, as a friend to numerous brothers and sisters in the service, I can tell you this much about the health care given by the Veterans Administration. It is so cumbersome. It is so bogged down in bureaucratic BS that I would rather take my chances in the private sector. Why? Why, Caleb? Why would you do that? You get free health care via the VA. Let me tell you why. Because after that 6-month wait, guess what? My life moved on. I was in college. I had finals the week of my appointment, and I called them up and I said, hey, is there any way I can reschedule just to like a week down the road? Because 6 months ago, when I made this appointment, I didn't expect to be back in college and going to finals. And you know what they told me, Josh?
What did they tell you, Caleb?
They told me it was going to be another 6 months.
Well, don't worry, because with the Veterans Choice Program, the only thing they're going to tell you is they're going to give you a number for a third party anyway, and you're going to have to get on their waiting list.
Oh, okay. And I'm sure that because it's the government, they're going to give them a discounted rate, which puts me at 0 on the competition factor of people who have real insurance. So then I'm going to call this quote-unquote number for this person, and I'm going to continue to get a answering machine, or even worse, just a disconnected damn phone line, because it's the government. This is our point. If they can't listen, the veterans of this great country make up less than 1% of our population. Less than 1%. The left, the big government gurus, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of big government gurus on the right too. I am not in any way saying that Republicans, the establishment, have both sides are corrupt. I endorse no one but the American person. That is who I endorse. Our entire political system needs a complete overhaul. But that is another show for another day. The point is, how many times does government have to fail and break promises before we wake up? Before we realize that they are not a business model. They can't fix our lives because they can't even create viable jobs that we don't have to suck money from other taxpayers because they don't know how to create anything profitable. The only thing they know how to do is take money from people. Story 2.
Yeah, it's actually a great intro into the second article I have for you, Caleb. Speaking of the government can't create jobs, not only can they not create them, they're actually killing them. So,
What?
Right?
What?
So, based off of these stats, in 2008, it was the first time in U.S. history. 2008 was an election year. Mm-hmm. And it was also the first time in U.S. history where the number of small business deaths exceeded the number of small business births.
Right. And that was the Great Recession.
Right. But it gets worse. For the next 6 years, there was 70,000 more small businesses closing than there was even being created.
Oh.
So in the private sector, we call that a deficit.
Right. A being in the red, one might say. So let me just make sure I'm completely understanding you. For all the supporters of the millennial messiah, who is even more regulated and far further left than Mr. Obama. You're telling me, and when was this article written, Josh?
Yeah, this one is dated January of 2015.
Okay, so a little over a year ago, this article was written. So for the first 6 years of Mr. Obama's policies, we went from bad. So when Bush left, the economy, nobody is trying to lie and say the economy was great. Then no, the economy was in the tanker. But we went from bad to worse. So for the first time in a long time, we went from there wasn't enough small businesses opening to there's a slight deficit, just teeny tiny, of open to close ratio. For the next consecutive 6 years, that deficit has grown.
Correct. And
has continued to grow. And what was the number, Josh, that closed last year?
That would be 70,000.
Holy smokes. Okay, so 70,000 small businesses closed, then opened. It's not like 70,000 small businesses closed. No, 70,000 more small businesses closed than had opened. We have a 70,000 business death deficit. And guess what percentage of the job growth small businesses account for?
Something like 2/3, right?
Oh, nailed it on the head, my friend. And this is why it's so funny to me when Obama throws out fictitious numbers like the unemployment rates is only at 5%. Well, here's a news flash for anybody who doesn't know about quote unquote unemployment rates and why you should never believe it. The unemployment rate, by definition, only accounts for people who are actively seeking work. So if you've been kicked in the gut so many times, that you know that you're never going to find a decent job to be able to pay your bills, guess what you do? You leave the workforce. You leave the seeking of a job, and you no longer are part of the unemployment rate. So that's why 95 million Americans are unemployed. But guess what? Do we account for them, Josh?
Oh no, but our percentage rates look good.
It's a great political point during campaign season. Oh, look!
Real easy lie to sell.
Oh man, they sell it like it's ice on a hot July day in Florida with no air conditioning. I mean, it is. Whoo, boy, it is a good one. I mean, I wish I had come up with it because I'd be a very, very rich man. But if Mr. Sanders gets elected, then he just take all my damn money, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I think the point here is they have completely ruined veterans' health care, but yet we're talking about giving the entire national health care system. If they can't take care of 1% of people, why can't they take care of 99%? The story number 2 leads us to, if you think the socialistic ideals that Hillary or Mr. Sanders want to apply to our country are good for our economy, I think we have plenty of evidence over the last 8 years that they're not. And since small businesses make up 2/3 of our job market, then maybe closing 70,000 of them a year more than are opening isn't the best policies for economic growth. Which leads us to story number 3.
So this is a special one, Caleb. It's going to be near and dear to your heart.
Special?
Yeah.
How special?
This is special.
I am feeling pretty special.
You ever heard of a thing called Common Core?
Holy Jesus.
So far we've talked about.
I don't think we should go over this, Josh.
No.
We're gonna have to mark this episode explicit if we go over this because that's how angry Common Core makes me.
So another area that the government has failed to innovate and failed to bring us solutions is the education sector. So if any of you guys don't have children who are in the age groups for the Common Core curriculum, like myself, I'm going to give the mic over to Caleb to explain, just give us like an example problem of a typical Common Core question.
Okay, well, I currently have 3 children in school under the oppression of the Common Core system. And when I say oppression, I fully mean oppression. I mean, if you don't have kids yet, and you have not gotten to experience Common Core, you have zero clue as to how insanely, obscenely inefficient and the word I want to use, people will be offended by. It, my friends, is completely and utterly, we'll just go with stupid. So, for example, Josh, if I told you what is 8 plus 5?
That'd be 13.
How did you get that?
Memorization, I guess. 8 plus 5 is
right.
13.
And don't get me wrong, I am not a memorization advocate, but when it comes to simple things, such as tying your shoe, such as knowing what green, red, and yellow are, or knowing your phone number, there is a time that memorization is appropriate. And I think 2 plus 2 equals 4 is I don't even have to think about that. Why? Because I memorized it when I was in kindergarten. Because I learned as a fact of life, 2 plus 2 equals 4. I didn't need to know the formula behind it. I didn't need to know the abstract thought process. But Common Core says I'm wrong. Says the last, 2,000 years of teaching math is wrong. because the government decided that they were going to now not only influence a broken Veterans Healthcare Association, a broken economy by adding more. Now we're going to regulate education. And my friends, let me tell you how well this works. So the question I posed to you, Josh, 8 plus 5, you said equals 13. And to me and you and, I don't know, 99% of the world's population, that's a correct answer. To your math teacher now, though, that would not be a correct answer.
How do you figure, Caleb?
Well, in Common Core, the correct answer isn't enough. We have to teach our 5-year-olds that are in kindergarten, our 8-year-olds, our 10-year-olds. We have to teach them these, that even though you might be able to figure out the right answer, that's not good enough. You need to figure out why the right answer could have possibly happened in 6 different ways. So we need to take 5 and we need to break it down into multiple numbers. So 5 now becomes 2 and 3, so you can group 8 and 2 together to make 10, and then you can add the 3. And instead of doing that all in your head, no, that's not good enough. You need to now break that down on paper, and don't just write 2, but make 2 squares, and don't just write 3, but make 3 squares, and then make 8 squares, and make those 2 and 8 squares then become a 10 squares, and then group that 10 squares together and take those 3 squares and tell them how they need to get along with these 10 squares, and everything should be fair, and we're all going to be okay because it's going to equal 13. Shoot me in the face.
Now, important thing to note here, we're not saying that the education system was perfect.
No.
In fact, it's quite the opposite. The education system, as we know it in the public education realm,
Has a problem.
has a huge problem. Needs total renovation, total innovation. What we are saying is the government's form of innovation, i.e. Common Core, has failed.
Utterly, completely. If my children don't get relief from Common Core soon, I honestly might revolt. I might have a straight up conniption because it is so utterly broken and stupid that I feel like I'm doing a disservice to my children by teaching them this. In fact, when my daughter comes home with her homework, half the time I tell her to do it my way, and if the teacher has a problem with it, to email me, because it's that dumb. But I don't have enough words in my brain to express how horrible this whole idea and conception is. It makes me want to just scream.
Well, no screaming, because screaming's not a solution.
No, screaming is not a solution.
What would have been a viable solution to reform and innovate the education system would have been to maybe release it to the private sector.
Oh, God, where there's competition, Josh? Where if you're not good at your job, you don't have one? No. Those teachers couldn't handle that. Those educators would have to come up with something better than Common Core? No, sir. We cannot do that to our education system. Why?
Well, just pretend with me for a...
No! Tell me why we can't do it.
I don't know an answer, Caleb?
Sure, that's an answer. I don't know is an answer. I don't know is an answer because there's no good reason why not. Any teacher who's a good teacher, and I've had quite a few, they will tell you that they are a good teacher because they understand how to inspire a child, a teenager, to seek knowledge. They inspire them to better themselves, to acquire skills, to grow their brain. And they're not worried about Common Core. They're not worried about, I need a system. I need A, B, and C to go right. They don't need that because they use their brains. They innovate. They inspire. They have a message. They teach young minds more. And I am completely sure, without a doubt, that if we did give the education system over to the private sector, here's what would happen. You would see a mass exodus of crappy teachers because they wouldn't keep getting paid their quote-unquote salary. They wouldn't have this tenature promised to them, that they just had to hang around and treat kids like crap and not worry about them actually understanding or improving their mental status. But the flip side of that coin is you would see the pay for good teachers go through the roof. You would see the pay for people who could inspire young minds to become something more be what it should be. But instead, we are bureaucratically destroying our education system because we give it to... It's not fair. Just because this teacher isn't good at their job, they still love kids. I don't care if you then go work in a daycare, volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. But for me and my 4 kids, you know what I want when they go to school? I want a teacher that interacts with them, that grabs at their soul and goes, learn. Learn, because it is what is going to get you through life. And don't just memorize this book, but learn how to critically think. Learn how to be something more than the A, B, and C dots that are taught to you on this standardized test. That is what a good teacher is. That is who should be getting paid. But they can't get paid because they got 9 out of 10 teachers going, it's not fair if they get a pay raise and I don't. I'm going to the union. The hell with your union. You get paid on the skills you bring to your job. If you don't want to bring more skills, then don't complain about not getting paid. Bottom line. So, what's the solution? Do you have a solution, Josh?
Caleb, I don't know if I can follow that up, brother, but I think we've already stated the solution. The solution is open up competition again, America. Take hold of your lives again and inspire your children to do better because they can. Not because the government tells them to, not because there's some sort of system that they have to follow in order to get a good grade, but because they can, and they're part of our tribe as a nation. And Caleb, I think that's the same story with not just the education, but with the healthcare and the businesses as well. Is all these things bring to the point that the government's failure to innovate does nothing but cripple us as a people.
Right. I completely agree with you. The solution is innovation. The government, if they want to fund innovation, then they need to fund it to the private sector. And they need to learn how to operate as a business does when they fund a venture capitalist. Instead of overpaying for, a toilet seat like the government is known to do. Here's an idea. Keep track of your taxpayers' money like it was your own. But, my friends, I do not believe that will ever happen because I live in this little thing called reality. Innovation is necessary. Innovation is not only necessary, but it is essential to our survival as a country. So then the question is, well, how do we innovate, Caleb? How do we get to that next step? What does innovation look like? Well, I may just have a couple examples for you because I don't want to leave you on a downside. We don't come here just to say what's wrong. We come here to say what's wrong and how to fix it. Truthfully, honestly, raw, and unapologetically. That is what the rebellion is about. That is what this movement is about. That is what the community we are building is about. It's not about left or right. It's not about big corporations or small businesses. It is about one thing, my friends. It is about the truth. The truth shall set you free.
Man, if I didn't see that coming from a mile.
Well, it may be a little cliche, but it's still the truth. So, what, Josh, everybody that's listening, including Josh, just hop on this little thought train for me till we get to the end, okay? There's going to be some things that might make you want to question where I'm coming from that you may not agree with off the bat, but just hear me out. One of my favorite phrases, go down this rabbit hole. Okay. So Josh, what do you think Donald Trump, Steve Jobs, and Arianna Huffington all have in common?
Well, Caleb, I don't know that you can use Donald Trump and Steve Jobs in the same sentence. I don't know if that's...
I understand. That's why I said everybody's just got to hold on to this train. It's going to get a little bumpy, but we're going to go down this rabbit hole.
All right. Well, Mr. Conductor, you tell me. What do the three have in common?
Well, let me tell you. It's innovation. Stop. All you Trump haters. Stop. I'm not saying Trump's the Messiah. That would be dumb. I don't believe there's any political figure that's the Messiah. Me personally, my Messiah lived, died, and went back up into heaven 2,000 years ago. That's besides the point. Trump, Steve Jobs, and Arianna Huffington all have one thing in common. That's innovation. That is what we are seeking. That is what we need to get to the next level. That is what we need to find success. So for all you Trump haters out there, I understand. But long before Donald won 6 states in a row, won 5 states in one night.
Single night.
Long before he ever even ran for president, he was an extremely successful entrepreneur. The question we need to ask ourselves then is, how do we achieve the success? How did he do it? How is it that he's so controversial and yet gains fans day by day, Josh? I think this is a valid question to ask ourselves. My friends, I would present the solution as innovation. And I understand that all the people that don't like him, they think he is an offensively crass baboon. I understand that opinion.
But it doesn't change facts.
No, my friend, the facts do not change. In fact, back when old Don was just a regular old billionaire, there was an interview done by Entrepreneur magazine, and they questioned him about his success and what was it that was different or innovative or a proprietary secret that he had to make him so successful in so many ventures. This was back when he just was rich, when he was a real estate tycoon, when he was a real estate developer, when he owned casinos, when he managed golf courses, when he had a celebrity apprentice. What made him so successful? And I think that the only honest answer is to look at what he said. And I quote from Entrepreneur magazine, his response: "Sometimes I ask myself, what else can I include in my thought process
to make it more comprehensive? Is there anything I can add that might enhance the project or idea I've got spinning around in my head? Many times I will tell myself something isn't quite right yet, because that automatically opens the door to more ideas. I ask myself, what am I not seeing? What else is possible? Sometimes the answers wind up being more innovative ideas. It is not necessarily some secret process, but it is a process that it is a process, and it requires concentration. So that being said, the summary of that idea, the essence of that idea coming from a billionaire, whether you agree with him politically or not, whether you think he is a rude, unclassed president or not, does not change the fact that he is an incredibly successful businessman. And I think we need to all take a second and think, when we have a quote-unquote good idea in our heads, do we take the time to look at it from all angles? Do we go down every rabbit trail and try and think 10 steps ahead? Or do we just get really excited about something, and then when the first obstacle comes up, we cry failure? What do you think, Josh?
I'd say 9 times out of 10, it ends in us crying. There's not many people willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to be truly successful.
No. And that's understandable. I mean, it's painful. This idea that we are all somehow owed success upon the backs of others who have already found that success is, in my mind, despicable. Because the amount of work, the amount of sacrifice it takes to achieve that level of success, I'm sorry, but you owe nobody anything at that point. But yet we keep asking for more, because we don't want to have to go through the process of innovation. We don't want to have to go through the process of learning. We don't want to have to go through the process of taking the time it takes. Just let's not even get into the really hard part, the execution. But we don't want to have to take the effort to think about all the different angles, all the different things that are required to figure out a successful business model. For 90% of people, that's too much. And yet, they cry, it's not fair. So, on to character number 2. One last thing. Mr. Trump, and like I said, I am not endorsing him, but I will give him this because I appreciate savvy business. I appreciate the positioning he has done. Listen, if you think for a second that his campaign that swept 5 states last night is anything close to an accident, you are out of your mind. Listen, you don't get to a personal net worth of $10 billion by just rolling the dice. You don't sweep 5 states by not fully understanding and comprehending the American psyche and emotional status, winning at 50, 60% in these states. That doesn't happen by accident. Everybody wants to think that he's dumb or just has no clue because he's offensive, because he rubs people the wrong way. Here's the truth. He earned $10 billion. Here's the truth. He's got more votes. He is quickly approaching the record of votes that George W. Bush got in the year 2000. And I fully believe he will surpass that because he's only like 800,000 behind. And he still has California to go. And a couple other states, Indiana and everything else. This was not an accident. This man looked at the state of the country, heard what the people were concerned about, and played to those pains. Now, does that mean he will be a successful president? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. Does that mean he'll be a successful Republican candidate and beat Hillary? God, I hope so, because I would rather have a dead monkey in office than Hillary or Bernie. But what it does say is the man understands business, the man understands marketing, the man understands how to connect with the people and present his message in an influential way. And guess what? That's something that all people seeking to become successful could learn from. Whether you agree with his policies or not, whether you're an illegal immigrant and hate his fanny, you can still learn from him. On to character number 2. Mr. Steve Jobs.
Oh, I heard the millennials' ears perk up.
Oh, I know. Apple iPods.
Yeah, aside from Bernie, that's the
yeah,
champion.
And listen, Steve Jobs, whether I agree with his political views or not,
Truly innovative.
truly innovative. I mean, this man is honestly almost the essence of pure innovation. Why do I say that? Well, let me explain. Steve Jobs was one of the co-founders of Apple. Steve Jobs helped establish them as a profitable company, and they expanded as one of the, everybody knows the story of Apple. Everybody knows Steve Jobs was run out of his own company. But what happened to Apple when Steve Jobs was gone? They went from a technological innovator to a technological follower. And consequently, their stocks went down, their profits went down. They were on the doldrums of bankruptcy. They were on the verge of defeat for 4 years. I think it was like 93 to 97, something like that. And they were, in the words of Jim Collins, they were in the stage 4 of grasping for salvation. Jim Collins wrote the book, How the Mighty Fall. It's about how big corporations who became uber successful ended up dying. And there's, I believe, 5 stages to failure. There's 5 stages to failure. And stage number 4, grasping for salvation. And this is actually something that we saw in the political arena today. Still relevant. What did Ted Cruz do today, Josh?
Oh, he had a big announcement at 4 o'clock.
Huge.
Yeah. So today, Ted Cruz at 4 p.m. announced that Carly Fiorina was going to be running as his vice president.
Oh, God. So smart. He's just, Fiorina, we love her.
No, but
Wait.
Did it? What was her? How many primaries did she make it through, Caleb?
2. 2, yeah. And she did so poorly in both of them that she left the presidential race. That she couldn't raise enough money to continue the fight because that's how little people identified with her. But Ted Cruz, after getting walloped, just beat down like a drunken idiot, kicked in the street last night. And I'm not, listen, Ted Cruz supporters, I'm not hating on Ted Cruz. I'm just stating the facts. He got his fanny whipped last night. There has not been such a landslide primary election that has happened in the Republican primary as last night in years. A long, long time. Maybe all of time. I don't know. I know it's been a long flipping time, though. And so his solution, we gonna get back in there and fight, was, I'm going to name a vice presidential running mate. By all means, like, he literally has like a 5% chance to come back and win. And his solution is what, Josh?
To name a loser so that he can win?
Right.
That's not innovation. That's, what do you call that?
I think we could go back to Mr. Jim Collins' book and name it right here. Stage 4, Grasping for Salvation. And let me just read you a little summary from his book. And guys, I'm just going to give you a couple sentences here. Those who grasp for salvation have fallen into stage 4. Common quote-unquote saviors include charismatic visionary leaders, bold but untested strategy, a radical transformation, a dramatical cultural revolution, a hoped-for blockbuster product, a game-changing acquisition, or any number of other silver bullet solutions. Initial results from taking dramatic action may appear positive, but they do not last. We find ourselves in trouble when we find ourselves on the cusp of falling. Our survival instinct and our fear can prompt lurching, reactive behavior absolutely contrary to survival. The very moment when we need to take calm, deliberate action, we run the risk of doing the exact opposite and bringing about the very outcomes we most fear. By grasping about in fearful, frantic reaction, late stage 4 companies accelerate their own demise. Of course, their leaders can later claim, but look at everything we did. We changed everything. We tried everything we could think of. We fired every shot we had, and we still fell. You can't blame us for not trying. And that's exactly what Ted Cruz did. He is grasping for the silver bullet of Carly Fiorina.
I love that quote, the one sentence in there that says, by grasping about in a fearful, frantic reaction, late stage 4 companies accelerate their own demise. That's exactly what he did today.
Right. You know how many people looked at his announcement and said, oh, the guy who's getting beaten by like 5 million votes is announcing his vice presidential nominee. Does that make sense to anyone? What? I mean, how? So you're announcing the person who's not going to become vice president then?
Yeah, basically.
So basically, Carly just shot herself in the foot because there is no way that she could even have a shot at being the vice president now, because 95% likely Trump will get the nomination. And now both of them are just up the creek. But Ted, he thought that he'd get the ladies' vote. He'd go into California and steal some votes. This is what happens, guys. This is the epitome of I'm grasping, I'm reaching. Something's got to fix me. Nothing is going to fix your situation. This is what we keep going over. You have to get clear. You have to put in the hard work. It takes time. Listen, I understand if you're behind the power curve and you're like, I don't have time. I get that. I feel for you. I'm there. I've been there. But our circumstances don't dictate reality. There is no silver bullet. There was no silver bullet for Apple. You know what they had to do? They had to go eat some crow and bring Mr. Jobs back. Why? Because Mr. Jobs, Mr. Steve, he was the essence of innovation. He said, you know what? Don't follow anyone. The only thing we need to be doing is clearing a new path. There's a story behind, and I'm probably gonna butcher this. It's either the iPod Touch or the iPhone. I want to say the iPhone, but listeners out there, if I'm wrong, email me, correct me. I will more than willingly hear how I'm wrong. I like being corrected, knowing where the truth is. But so the story goes something like this. When he thought up the iPhone, he went to his engineers at Apple and he said, listen, I need you to make Gorilla Glass. His engineers looked at him and said, what the hell's Gorilla Glass? And he goes, it's this kind of glass and it works like this and here's the parameters of it. Who makes it? Where do we get it? What's the formula? Steve Jobs goes, well, it's not made yet. You're going to make it. And so his engineers kind of chuckle and laugh and go, well, okay. How long do we have? 6 months. No! There's no way, Steve. That is not possible. No. Not gonna. You're asking us to create something that doesn't even exist at a production level in 6 months. It can't happen. It's not possible. You're out of your mind, Steve. And you know what he told him, Josh?
No, what's that?
Shut up. It is possible. Don't say I can't. Believe that you can. Go out there and do it. And I'm paraphrasing here. And guess what? 6 months later, Gorilla Glass was born. The iPhone shortly followed after. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but the iPhone did what? Innovated the entire cellular sector. We went from flip phones being able to text thinking that was cool to we had the true first smartphone that operated and functioned how it was supposed to. Why did that happen? Because one man said do it. One man had enough innovative thought and creative power to inspire others to do it. So real quick, move on to our third story. Arianna Huffington. And her story is somewhat short. Do you know who Arianna Huffington is, Josh?
Truthfully, I had never heard of her until right before the show.
Right. But have you heard of the Huffington Post?
That I have heard of.
It's pretty big.
Right. I would say it's, up there. Yeah.
Right. It's probably the biggest online news publication that exists in our day. So I would imagine the editor-in-chief of that publication, the creator of that publication, would have been pretty successful prior to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if 2 and 2 make 4 without Common Core, then...
Ooh, if only that were true. Miss Huffington, she actually tried to be a writer. Weird, I know. She's a journalist and owns a major online publication. But prior to starting the Huffington Post, she wanted to be a writer, and she took her works to publishers. How many publishers turned down Tim Ferriss? Do you know that? You know who Tim Ferriss is?
No.
He's a best-selling author for the 4-Hour Workweek. You heard of them?
Yes, I have heard of that. Okay. Yeah.
He got turned down by, I think, like 24 or 26.
Okay.
I think it was 24. 24 publishers before one of them picked up his book, and then it ended up becoming a bestseller on the New York Times list. And his success has just gone through the roof since there.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Huffington, guess how many publishers she took her ideas to?
No clue.
36. She got punched in the mouth 36 times. She got told 36 times her writing wasn't good enough. She is the epitome of perseverance and evolution, aka innovation. So after 36 times of getting told, oh no, we're not going to waste our money on that. You can't write. Your stories aren't worth anything. You aren't a good communicator. You have no idea what effective writing and storytelling looks like. You know what she did? She started the Huffington Post. And I'm not sure what her net worth is right this second, but I would say it's probably in the billions. Why? Why did that happen? Why did Trump become so successful in all his ventures and eventually politically? Why did Steve Jobs make or break Apple? Why did Miss Huffington, after getting rejected and pounded in the face, and it's not like, guys, listen, getting rejected as a writer isn't like, oh, I didn't get the job I wanted. When you write, you are putting your heart and soul into the work you are creating. And you have already, at that point, refined it to the point that you think that it's bulletproof, right? And I'm going to take it to the publisher. Writers don't just put up a rough draft and just send it off to a publisher. Like, by the time it gets to the publisher, you are fully confident that this is A-grade work. So when you get rejected and punched in the face by a publisher, it hurts. It stings. It makes you feel like a big flaming bag of poo. And what did Miss Huffington do? She did it 36 times. 36 times she had people say, you aren't worth the paper to print your book on. And she said, you know what? That's fine. That is A-OK. Because I know, without a doubt, down in my soul, I have crafted this message. I have honed my skills. I don't need you. I will innovate. I will change how news is fed to people. I will come up with a business model that works for me, that works for my customers, that makes their experience better, that gives them a better product, service that the market needs. So, she created the Huffington Post. Those are just 3 stories, 3 real-life accounts of how innovation leads to success. It's not easy. It's not something everyone just wakes up and knows what to do. But if you want to achieve great success, it is necessary. So how does that look in your business? How does that look in your life, Josh? Well, if I were a logistics manager, I would say, what's the problem I have to solve? Well, the problem logistic managers have to solve for their companies is how to save them more money on shipping and receiving products. Correct?
Yeah, right.
So, you can look at the system as it's built now, and then you maximize what the system has already had, but that's not true innovation. That's maximizing what you already have. Innovation is taking that system, turning it upside down on its head, and saying, there's a better way. And I can't tell you what that better way is, but there's somebody out there who has that idea. There's somebody out there who goes, I know a better way. And they execute. And guess what? They get punched in the mouth. And 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 then one day, they create the Huffington Post for logistics. In real estate, in my sector, what are the 3 most important things to a home seller? Money, time, and stress. They want it to take as little time as possible because time is the one commodity we can't recreate. They want to make as much money off their investment as possible, because we all like money. And they want it to be as stressless as possible, because we all hate stress. Well, the system we have now, we do the best we can to operate inside that. But the agent that figures out how to answer all three of those questions at once, who understands how to fully innovate that industry, they will be incredibly successful. They will be incredibly rich. I mean, I hope that's me. I'm working on that problem as we speak. But that, my friends, is what innovation is. So what it looks like in even breaking it down to simpler terms. What it looks like in our show, Josh, you got some feedback, right?
Right, so this is episode 4, so we've had the first 3 episodes on there for about a week now. And we got some feedback from some of our listeners about just some things that they've noticed, and you know, we love getting feedback, guys. That's why we ask for it. We wouldn't ask for it if we didn't want to hear it.
Right. So whether it's good or bad, the only way for us to improve our product is to get feedback. The only way for us to improve the value we bring to our audience is to get feedback. That feedback is what fuels the train. So, we got some feedback this week. Some great, some, man, that was awesome. Great content. It speaks to my heart. I got some personally that was like, this was awesome. It was funny. It was entertaining. But this is a journey, guys. This is what we told you from the beginning. We're going to start at point A, and we're going to work towards point Z. This isn't ABC. This isn't ABCD. A to Z. So in episode 1, we told you that the key to success, the key to getting better at a skill is execution. Well, what's this show? It's execution. If you go and listen to episode 1, my God, it makes me nauseous to listen to. It's horrible. It's awful. I mean, the content's good, but I'm okay. Like, it's not a good, entertaining broadcast. And the only reason I do not take it down is this. We said it would be a journey. And if I take episode 1 down when it was awful, it won't make episode 200 as powerful. Because the journey, the authenticity of this movement is what makes us a family. If we just came out batting 1,000, it wouldn't be relatable. You wouldn't go, oh man, I understand now. They were horrible, awful in episode 1. But if I'm in episode 200, man, these guys are hilarious, or they're saving great. I mean, I don't know where we'll be episode 200, but I hope that we're at the top of our game by that point. But what I hope more is that we can be an example of how you go from horrible to amazing. How does that happen? Information, innovation, execution. Over and over and over again. So like when we got these criticisms this week, it hurt, it stung, it was a kick in the gut. At first it made me angry. It made me feel like, God, all this work for nothing. But then I realized. I said, we have to live what we preach. And we preach, you put a product or service out in the market, and if it hits you in the nose, guess what that means? Change. innovate, get better. It doesn't mean quit. It doesn't mean go cry about how life isn't fair. So guess what? We got punched in the nose. It hurt. But we're going to keep innovating. We're going to keep practicing. We're going to keep trying, honing our skills, getting better at our craft, making our message more influential. Because that is why we are here. Because our message, Josh, it speaks to people. People are fed up with fairness. People are fed up with the lies that they have been sold, and they need someone to stand up and say, this is broken. But here is a real solution. Here is a real path to success. My friends, that is what we are here for. And that is what we will continue to bring to you. And that is what we will continue to hone our skills at. That being said, thank you, everyone who gave us the criticisms. Thank you for all the people who said it wasn't good enough. Because the only thing you did was help us get better. And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart.
So thanks for checking us out, guys. Leave us an iTunes review. We have the website up now. That's therebellionshow.com. You can reach me and Caleb both there. There's also links to our Twitters and the blog.
Right. You can email us if you have any questions, concerns, comments, arguments, whatever it is. You can reach me at Caleb@therebellionshow.com, or you can reach Josh at
Josh@therebellionshow.com.
We would love to hear from you. Love it. Whether it's good or bad, we appreciate it. Anyway, like you said, thank you. Leave us a review at iTunes. Remember, guys, innovate or die. You guys keep fighting the good fight, and we will keep leading the rebellion. Good night. See you next week.